Have a nice flight.
Freestyle.
Freestyle, our latest collection. It's about embracing, capturing the urban feel. It's about what's going on with fashion.
Freestyle to me is a unique individual way of expressing oneself.
Freestyle for us is really about embracing spontaneity. And when we relate it to hairdressing and how we're working today, it's a very youth culture inspired collection.
Freestyle.
If you look at what people are wearing, they don't wear, everybody doesn't wear the same anymore. They kind of mix and match and try and create their own identity. And I think, for us, that's capturing freestyle because we want to do the same thing. We want to capture an individuality, a mood, something completely different, something that is, more personalized and individual, the same way as someone grabs hold of the kind of music they like or the fashion they like.
Freestyle is really all about the way that you approach the color or approach the haircut, being able to fill in spots where you want to see it or take away in areas that you don't.
Freestyle to us is what we're seeing in the streets and the youth and what's happening on all continents and all walks of life.
The attitude behind the hair really is to look at the individual and not to dictate really what their hair should be doing. It's working with it a lot more freely.
It's about artistic freedom. It's what we see happening on the runway as well as street and combining the both.
What's really important for us is that we're mixing up the elements using our products, the color and the cut to create that perfect balance between these elements to create that fresh look.
So putting all these elements together, we have our new collection.
Freestyle.
Freestyle is our latest collection, and what we create inside of Freestyle is a unique look for the individual, inspired by music, fashion, the catwalk, and of course we take the individuality, mix it up with these elements, and create that fresh contemporary look inside of our cutting and coloring. What's really important for us is that we're mixing up the elements using our products, the color and the cut to create that perfect balance between these elements to create that fresh look. So what we're gonna do on my model's hair is, first of all, we are going to prepare it with the color. Color is always a very important thing for us because it gives us an additional inspiration throughout the haircut. Not only to help us to create the texture and separation, but when we detail the haircut, and allows us to see how the separation and texture and the movement happens correctly. So having the color done before the haircut is a very essential and important thing for us.
After having a consultation with Aquash, I've noticed that he wants to take the interior a little bit shorter. So I really want to show that off a little bit more with the color. So having a little bit of inspiration through the street, I'm going to be taking a very irregular zigzag mohawk section through the top of her head shape. After that, I'm going to follow her C curvature, taking also zigzag pattern. I want my darkest color to be underneath, so really rich black is going to be going under there. She has really naturally dark hair, and I think this will just kind of help that color out a little bit more. And through the interior, like I said, it was going to be a little bit lighter, so I'm thinking of more of a wheat kind of color that's going to help that out a little bit more. And then after that, the top or my mohawk section is going to be a chestnut color, very warm, and that's it. I think will complement everything, kind of filter all the colors through. So I'm using a cutting comb, which is going to give me a little bit cleaner lines and sections, using quite a steep zigzag to help blend in the color a little bit more. Working almost a mohawk section. Checking for balance. On each side of the zigzags, they don't have to be exactly the same, but you do have to make sure that they do have a balance. So what I'm going to be doing now is working a C curvature with a slight zigzag to help the layering of color blend in a little more. So much softer zigzag. And once again, the zigzag doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to be doing the exact same thing on the opposite side. Just a very soft zigzag. The reason behind the zigzag, it's going to help me filter in the color a little bit more, so it gives it more of a new, fresher appearance or look. Okay, so now I'm going to start my coloring technique. What I want to do is I want to apply my deepest color underneath, and I'm basically going to surface color. I really enjoy the color she has going in through here. I basically just want to kind of richen it up a little bit more. So I'm going to be working with my brush and my comb, just slightly applying it on top. The comb is so that way it gives me a little bit more control. So once again, just lightly surface coloring it to give it a little bit more dimension. Because the color I'm utilizing is very similar to her natural hair color. Just going to add a little bit more depth, so this is going to create a little more texture. What I'm going to be doing now is isolating with some mesh strips. Now I'm going to be bringing down my center section, which has a very textured zigzag pattern. going to be root shading with the same color that I surface colored with. The reason behind the root shading is so it sets it off the color that I'm going to be applying next. Works kind of like a background. Break this up into 2 quadrants just to make my application a little bit easier. Then I'm going to sponge in my lightest color, which is going to be wheat color. This is going to be a big focal point in this technique. Okay. The reason that this is going to be more of a focal point is because in our consultation with Aquash, he's going to be disconnecting this, so this is going to eventually become the shorter section. So the underneath by being a little bit deeper, this by being a little bit lighter, and then the top section being more of a middle, more of a chestnutty color, it's going to make this center section pop out a little bit more. So by sponging it in and working both colors together, it's more of a freestyle kind of approach. Not being afraid for the 2 colors to run into one another. I flip her around, bring down the section, and do the exact same thing on this side. And much like my zigzags being irregular, so is the root shade. So in some areas I'm going to bring it up a little bit higher. In some areas I'm going to keep it a little closer. Working it in a little bit more, making sure that I have proper saturation. So with my application here, I'm going to be taking irregular zigzag shapes again, or subsections. Applying my darkest color to the roots once again. Now I'm going to apply my last color, which is more of a chestnut tone. I'm angling my brush to work with the zigzags and to give it more of a blend. And through this back section, what I've decided to do is to sponge in just a little bit of my lighter color to give it more of a blend, more of a marriage between the sides and the center section. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop my top section and work up through the top. I'm going to be working a little bit with a fringe. So I'm going to make a steep zigzag section in through the fringe area. Also textured. Going to isolate with mesh and apply my lightest color throughout. then work in my chestnut tone or my medium tone. Applying the lightest color, finishing off this top section. I'm going to close it off with mesh. Now working through my last section, which is my top section. Applying my darkest color to the new growth area. Now applying my chestnut color to the rest. Okay, and that completes my technique. Now for my recap. What I started is by doing a very textured zigzag parting, taking kind of a mohawk section from high recession all the way back to the occipital bone. Clipped that up into 2 sections. After that, working with the round of the head, I took another very textured zigzag parting, a little softer this time. Clipped that up, surface colored with my darkest color. Went back and root shaded with my deepest color, and then sponged my lightest color throughout. After that, I worked in my back section. I zigzagged that section out, applied my medium shade throughout, then sponged in my lightest shade throughout that. After that, kept working in a zigzag manner up the head shape, using my darkest color and then working in my medium color throughout. Worked a really deep zigzag section in through the fringe area, applied my dark color through the new growth area, alternating my medium and light throughout, then finished my technique with my darkest color at the roots, my medium shade throughout. So this completes my freestyle technique. Thank you.
With the haircut, what I'm going to do is, because my model's hair is quite straight and it's not really flexible, what I'm going to do is create a double cut. And what I'm going to do is take out weight from the middle part, middle shaft, and that allows us to create long and short hair in different areas of the haircut. That way we can create separation and give flexibility, more movement to this particular texture. Before we start the haircut, I'm going to pick up the Tigi Catwalk products and use the Fast Fix just to kind of re-moisturize the hair.